it's Dave and Evelyn from the camera store, and today we're taking a look at the Fujifilm GFX100S II.
We're also taking a look at the brand new 500mm lens for the GF system. The GFX100S II and this new 500mm, two big announcements from Fujifilm. So we thought we'd go on a big road trip to southern Alberta to check them out.
Yeah, we're having some beautiful spring weather. It's actually freezing, but that's okay because we're very excited about the Fujifilm GFX100S II as well as this 500mm lens. So we're going to give you our first look, some of our first impressions of this camera system and the lens. We made a quick pit stop here at the Leeton Arts Centre because the views here are spectacular. We thought it'd be a really good spot to talk about some of the features that the GFX100S II has. So first of all, when you look at it, the price point of this camera is actually quite a bit less than the GFX100 II, so not the S version. So Dave, what are some of the things that you actually are getting with this camera? What is this all about?
You have huge resolution and a medium format sensor. So you have a different look to everything and massive resolution that you can play with and great dynamic range. So for me, it's all about detail and image quality. So I look at architecture photography, landscape photography, portrait photography, this kind of stuff, and you're getting this ultimate detail.
Yeah, now of course, at this price point, it is opening the door to this sensor format for a lot of other genres and possibilities. The whole idea behind this camera is really making the GFX system or this larger format sensor system more accessible to people. And we already talked about the price point of it, but let's talk about the physical features. First of all, the feel of this camera is quite nice. It's 883 grams, and I think it's surprisingly lightweight. When you think of a larger format sensor camera, you think of something really like bulky and heavy. This actually packs really nicely in a bag, and I always find that when I hand someone a GFX camera, it's a little bit lighter and smaller than they're expecting. Of course, the lenses from the GF line are bigger than like a lot of the full frame cameras or APS-C cameras, but I think as a whole system, you'd be surprised by how well that this can pack and travel. I also like the grip on this camera. It has a nice feeling to it. I like the little knob on the back that kind of protects your thumb. It feels really good in hand, and of course, they did incorporate a 5.76 million dot EVF and has really good eye relief. It has 100% coverage, good magnification as well. And then we have this three-way tiltable LCD screen. It has a really great hinge to it. It's very well built. And the finish of this camera is absolutely gorgeous. We mentioned it in the GFX100 II that we really like this texture. It just has kind of a nice feel to it overall. Very premium. In terms of the media on this guy, it has two UHS-2 SD card slots. Now, it doesn't have the CF Express Type B card slot that we have in the other model. And this is actually one of the things that makes this camera quite a bit different than that model. When looking at the little porty ports on the side of the camera, we do have a microphone jack, a headphone jack for monitoring audio, which is always great to see. We do have USB-C charging, love that. Also great for transferring your images. Now you do have a micro HDMI port, so you don't have the full size one, but overall I think that the ports are pretty well designed. I like the flap system that they have on it. It just feels really nice and sleek once everything's kind of put in. I like that we have the custom control dial on the top of it. We have this wonderful panel as well, the LCD screen that shows you all of your features. I love how Fujifilm has integrated that. And then we also have a nice joystick on the back to help you with your autofocus selection, going through the menu, things like that. I think the key thing here though is the experience of using a GFX camera is really nice. They have come such a long way. And so if you have the opportunity to get one of these in your hand, just give it a feel. I think that Fujifilm has done such an excellent job refining the GFX system and making it just feel really good in your hand.
Okay, now the heart and soul of any camera is the sensor itself, and this features a 100 megapixel stabilized sensor, giving us really amazing image quality. Now the difference between this camera and the 100 Mark II, even though they're both 100 megapixel medium format size sensors, the readout speed is different between the two cameras. So depending on what you're shooting, you might need to worry about rolling shutter when you're shooting with the new 100S Mark II over the 100 Mark II. Now, something that is kind of fun to play with and will certainly bring your computer to its knees is the ability to do a multi-shot picture. So this will take 16 shots and stack them all together to give you a 400 megapixel file to work with. It's amazing quality detail. It's only good for still life, but if you need that level of detail and you have access to it and want it, you have the ability to do it with this camera. Now when it comes to the processor in this camera, it's the X Processor 5, same processor found in the X100 II, which is very good, and most notably for me, it adds subject detection when it comes to autofocus. So now I have animals, birds, planes, trains, and automobiles, and the camera does the best it can to find not just the shape of a bird, but to actually find the head of the bird when you're focusing. It's very cool to watch and put into practice when I'm using a camera like this.
We can't forget, Dave, that along with the Fujifilm GFX100S II, they also sent us the new 500mm lens. Lots of distance. Dave loves long lenses. He's loving life. He's having so much
So
fun.
this one just kind of came out of the blue. We weren't expecting anything like this. So it's a really nice addition to the whole lineup. I mean, it's not a crazy heavy lens. It's quite big. It's a 500mm lens. It comes in at what, 1,300 grams. So it's not lightweight, but for a 500mm, for medium
It's a
format,
good balance, actually.
it's
with
certainly
this camera.
not bad at all.
So Dave, I know you're gonna be excited to know there are 21 lens elements in 14 groups.
Yep.
We have 5 ED elements and 2 are super ED elements.
So all of that is giving us some really good image quality. So when I was using this lens and playing around with it, it does have linear autofocusing motors, which acquires focus very quickly, which is really nice. And it's silent. It's very, very quiet to work with. It is a 5.6 aperture lens, so you got to watch out for your shutter speed still, even though that has a very good stabilization. I'm always preaching to the people that I'm teaching. So I'm actually having a lot of fun with this. I mean, it's a 400mm equivalent, or just shy of 400mm. So it gives you something, a reach. That 100 megapixels can give you that reach, but not just that, also the compression of a big telephoto as well, which gives you that nice look.
And when we're in a place like this where the mountains are actually relatively close, being able to bring them in closer with compression is always really nice. It gives you some really cool possibilities. And yeah, if you're shooting something like birds or animals, I mean, never before this camera system have you been able to really think about shooting like animals and wildlife and things like that with a GFX camera.
No, and if it's not long enough for you, it is compatible with their 1.4 teleconverter, which brings you to about just over 550mm lens. So it's very cool to work with, and the build quality is great. It's a weather shield lens, Arca Swiss foot. Everybody should do that. I don't know why they don't, but they've done a very good job on this lens. So I'm looking forward to getting more time with this and really putting more animals.
Dave
when it's
wants
not.
more time, more resolution, more focal length.
Yeah, when I fill up the hard drive, that much more.
Dave, we've gone through pretty much this whole episode. We haven't talked about film simulations. We just always assume everybody knows about the film simulations, but in case you don't.
Yeah, this camera has Fuji's film simulations.
It has them.
Yeah.
They're great, and you can make your own little recipes. You can do some really cool stuff. I mean, I'm guessing most of the time with the GFX system, a lot of people are gonna be shooting raw and doing their own like presets, their own processing. But if you're someone that wants to bring this traveling, which you can do, it's at that kind of accessible price point now. This camera does have the film simulations that we love.
Yeah, I mean, you can shoot RAW plus JPEG if you want with that, and have the film simulation baked into the JPEG, and still have the RAW to work with in post if you get back from vacation, for instance.
Totally, and if you have like your favorite, you can shoot in that mode, kind of get an idea of what your color space is gonna look like, and then finish it to your liking.
I mean, overall, I love what Fuji has got going on with this camera, because it's giving you a very accessible price point. Yeah, I know it's not for everybody, I mean, but we look at the market with cameras in general, and we have multiple cameras that are well above this price point with a much smaller sensor.
I know, it's almost making your guys' decision at home a little bit tougher, because in this price point, you have a lot of really great options. You know, you could go full frame, but if you're someone that wants to go with that larger format sensor, this camera is a really solid option. You're still getting some great features, and if you're not as concerned about maybe the video side of things, I think that this is still a very fully loaded option.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's funny when I'm talking to people in the know, talking about video when it comes to medium format. A lot of people just could care less about video at all. I mean, they wish it wasn't even part of the camera at all. It's all about the still image quality and getting the best you can possible.
Yeah, I think overall this is a really solid option, again, for that little bit lower price point. Now, if you're someone that does want the higher scanning sensor, you want to have that CF Express Type B card, some of the other features for video, then definitely the GFX100 II is another really great option. But I love that they've introduced this to make it that more accessible option.
I'm okay sacrificing the dual card slots with the CF Express Type B card. The viewfinder experience for me is actually a big deal. I do like the nicer viewfinder on the GFX100 Mark II, but this is okay. Plus, if I'm doing a lot of landscape stuff, I'm not looking to the viewfinder so much anyways. I'm primarily using the rear screen or adjusting my histogram on the top screen there.
overall, this has been a really fun experience for us. We're so happy to see the evolution of the GFX system. It has come a long way since the initial clunky kind of GFX camera. And it's nice to see that there's a lot of different options out there and more lenses too with the 500mm. But of course, we want to know, what are your thoughts on the GFX system, this model, as well as the whole system overall? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you're already a GFX owner, are you excited about this new telephoto lens? Follow us both on Instagram.
And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit that notification bell. It's been Dave and Evelyn from the Camera Store. We'll catch you again very soon. Yo, this is a story all about how the GFX camera got twisted upside down. So if you take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how the GFX camera became the best one out there. What, Drew said he needed a wrap.
Hey, it's Dave from the Camera Store. If you like what you saw in this most recent episode and you want to check out more of our content, click up here. And if you're Canadian and you want to support local, check out thecamerastore.com down here.